I've been called a lot of things when it comes to my college football picks. Phenom, genius, wunderkind, Mr. Awesome. And yes, each one of those descriptions fit perfectly given my success this season. But believe it or not, I don't want to take all the credit. Anthony, my co-host, has been picking games along with me and Craig Carroll each and every week. And I want to give him the spotlight as we kick off this week's episode of Brad Carroll's Game Day.
Over-the-top compliments coming from you. This sounds way too good to be true.
Well, this is the week you finally get your due as I let everyone know how you've done this season on our show so our viewers can feel safe listening to all of us at any moment.
Maybe we should just skip that.
Well, no, you deserve it. I had our statistician do the math, and he has the results of your past 5 weeks. Thank you very much. These are Anthony's records. Week 5, 2-5. Week 6, 3-4. Week 7, 3-4. Week 8, 3-4. Week 9, last week, 2-5. What's with these numbers, Anthony?
I will say I was 6-1 straight up last week, but in the infamous words of Mark McGuire, I'm not here to talk about the past. I'm here to talk about this week, and I'm going to give you winners for this week. And by the way, who on earth calls you Wonderkind?
What? It's Wunderkind.
Wonderkind?
Wunderkind.
Oh, excuse me.
Switching to some better numbers, I went 5-2 last week to continue my hot streak this season. In all but 1 week, I've had a winning record. So, continue to trust the Wunderkind.
Well, the Wunderkind's getting interrupted by the evil one.
There we go. This is way earlier
They
than
left it on the desk. Apparently he has to get out, I guess. I don't know.
Here we go. This is Craig Carroll's statement. I'm going to read it right now. So, last week was your Halloween show. Seems to me that every week is a scare fest with your 2 ugly mugs on camera.
Insulting our appearance, that's so childish.
As for my picks, I rebounded from a couple of bad weeks to post a 4-3 record, which could have been better if Missouri actually had a decent quarterback.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Missouri stunk last week.
Brad again posted the best record going 5-2. As for Anthony, well, it's pretty hard to get any worse with 6, 7, 8, who knows how many straight losing weeks. But alas, he topped himself by going 2-5 a week ago. Ouch.
Again, not here to talk about that.
On to my picks. Oregon giving 35. Hawaii getting 21.5. Arizona getting 8.5. Alabama giving 6.5. Arkansas getting 3.5. Oklahoma State giving 7.5. And for my game of the week, number 4 TCU heads to number 6 Utah as 4.5-point favorites. Utah has a home winning streak of 21, and TCU is 0-3 in Utah, so all signs point to a Utah win. Not so fast. Not this year. Not with this TCU team. TCU, led by the leadership of quarterback Andy Dalton, should temporarily take over the number 2 spot in the BCS standings with a 31-24 win over Utah.
Interesting pick. I actually have some numbers to sort of support Craig's pick. Get a load of this. 0-0-3-7-6. No, that's not anybody's zip code. That's how many points TCU's defense has allowed the last 5 weeks. Bring a defense like that on the road, that's how you win big games. They also bring with them a very balanced pass rush offense. This is not about what Utah is lacking. They're a very good team. TCU, however, is a little bit better, and the score will reflect that. They will win 24-20.
As mentioned, Utah has owned the Horned Frogs at home in recent years, but TCU did beat the Utes 55-28 in Texas last year. This could be the one and only chance for TCU to ever play for a BCS championship, and even with a win, they would still need a ton of help. But with that possibility, I don't see the Frogs losing. Dalton is a great quarterback, and great quarterbacks don't lose these games. TCU, which I called the new Boise State several weeks back, wins the game and makes a statement. TCU 38, Utah 28. Speaking of the other BCS buster, number 2 Boise State host Hawaii is 21.5-point favorites. I'm not as high on Boise State as I have been in the past, as the Broncos' wins over Virginia Tech and Oregon State were anything but special. Still, Boise's getting a lot of respect this season, and if Oregon or Utah falters at some point this season, the Broncos most likely will play for a title. But Hawaii is anything but a walkover.
No, they're not. Hawaii has the offense to win this game. They're first in passing offense, about 400 yards a game. 11th in scoring offense, about 40 points a game. Boise State, however, second, 47 points a game. So they have an even better offense than Hawaii, which is known for its offense. Boise also has a strong defense. Boise knows it has to win big, and they will do that this week, 49-25.
Yeah, Hawaii's high-powered offense makes this an interesting game to pick. Passing for almost 400 yards a game is an amazing stat and automatically makes an underdog selection with the points a strong possibility. Boise State will win the game, but I can see the Warriors keeping this game relatively close with that extra half-point looming large. Boise State 49, Hawaii 28. Switching to the establishment, number 5 Alabama travels to number 12 LSU as 6.5-point favorites. The Crimson Tide have worked their way back into the national title picture, and with a battle with Auburn on the horizon, they could still end up defending their national championship. LSU, however, could end all that talk with a win over Alabama.
They could. LSU, 2 weeks ago, they finally lost the game as their living on the edge cost them. But you mentioned Alabama seeing that still potential for a national championship game. I know they have one loss, but listen to me carefully. No one has a clearer path to the BCS national championship game than the Tide. Here's why. They have an LSU-ranked team this week. They'll get Mississippi State later, then that huge clash with Auburn. That's 3 top 20 teams they still have yet to face, plus a potential rematch with South Carolina. They could avenge their only loss of the season. They're not going to let that chance slip away. They'll start that march. We'll see what happens as the weeks go on, but they'll start that march toward a national championship this week. They'll win 27-17.
Yeah, LSU has been in every game this season, and this should be no different. Again, the half point is huge as it makes the pick of Alabama all the more appealing. Both teams had 2 weeks to prepare for this matchup, and that should favor the Crimson Tide, especially with Heisman winner Mark Ingram getting an extra week to rest and recover. Alabama 31, LSU 17. Staying in the SEC, number 18 South Carolina hosts number 17 Arkansas as 3.5-point favorites. This matchup of ranked team actually doesn't have any real effect on the South Carolina season, as the Gamecocks will play Florida next week for a berth in the SEC title game, win or lose, if the Gators beat a bad Vanderbilt team Saturday. That, however, doesn't mean South Carolina won't play to win the game.
No, they will play to win this game. This is an exciting matchup. 2 teams that have been involved in a lot of exciting close games. I expect another one this week. Remember, though, South Carolina earlier in the year beat Alabama at home, which was then ranked number 1. Arkansas has had 2 shots at a top 10 team. They lost to Auburn and they lost to Alabama. So South Carolina has a track record, and again, they're at home, proving they can win big games. I think they win another big game and continue what has been a really good season for them, 32-31.
There's every reason to believe that South Carolina is looking ahead to Florida next week, but this is still a big game that should have South Carolina's attention, especially if Steve Spurrier does his job as head coach and keeps the team focused. But this could be a bad matchup with Arkansas, as the Gamecocks have the worst pass defense in the SEC. Quarterback Ryan Mallett should have a big day. I'm putting my perfect upset record on the line here. Arkansas 28, South Carolina 27. The Oregon Ducks, the number 1 team in the country, host Washington as 35-point favorites. We all know about the Oregon offense, but the bigger story here is what's happened to the Washington offense. Jake Locker, who could go number 1 in the NFL draft, won't play because of injury. That leaves freshman Keith Price to make his first career start. This one could get ugly.
Yeah, it could get ugly. What you haven't mentioned is that Washington also has a terrible defense. Like you said, they're without Locker. With Locker, they wouldn't have a chance. Without Locker, they don't have a prayer. 56-10, a drubbing for Oregon.
There's only one team I trust giving 35 points, and that's the Ducks. Oregon, 55. Washington, 14. Next is the surprising Baylor Bears, number 22 in the country, traveling to take on number 19 Oklahoma State as 7.5-point underdogs. Oklahoma State could have the best offense in the nation besides Oregon, and with the return of suspended receiver Justin Blackmon, that offense will be full go today at home.
Yeah, that offense will be full go. Oklahoma State plays offense well. The problem is on defense, they're not very good. Not a good sign with the Robert Griffith-led offense coming in Baylor. Griffith has over 2,500 yards passing, 20 touchdowns. Baylor has won 3 close games in a row. And don't look now, they're serious contenders to not only represent the Big 12 in the title game, but to win that conference and get into a BCS bowl. Before the season, they would just have been happy to get into a bowl, which they've already qualified for. I think the Bears keep rolling here, 37-31.
Wow. Baylor, which has had a great season, will run into an offense it won't be able to control. Oklahoma State will give its offensive momentum going with a big day against the Bears. Oklahoma State, 33, Baylor, 23. Finally, number 13, Arizona, an 8.5-point underdog, travels to number 10, Stanford in a primetime Pac-10 showdown. This is an interesting matchup that features the high-powered Stanford offense, led by quarterback Andrew Luck, facing one of the nation's best defenses in Arizona. Which one wins out?
Great quarterback matchup, and as you said, Arizona's defense pretty good as well. Andrew Luck, everyone knows about him at Stanford. He's perhaps the top NFL quarterback prospect. Nick Foles, who was leading the Pac-10 in passing before he got injured a few games, should be back for Arizona. that makes it, which quarterback plays better is going to have a lot to do with it. But Arizona's defense, like we talked about it, they're good, but they had trouble last week. They gave up 2 big pass play touchdowns to UCLA. Not good when you're facing Andrew Luck. Stanford, on the other hand, had a good game last week against Washington. Shutout. Their defense is looking a little bit better. I think that's an important thing to note going into this game. I think Stanford defense will play well enough for them to get this win 27-24.
Yeah, I wish the spread was a little bit lower, but it doesn't change my pick. Stanford's offense will carry the team to a big win over Arizona Saturday night. Stanford 38, Arizona 24. With that, we wrap up another edition of Brad Carroll's Game Day. Be sure to check out the print version every Saturday in the pages of the Bristol Press and New Britain Herald, on my blog at bradcarrollgameday.blogspot.com, and don't forget College Game Day Rewind exclusively on my blog. For Anthony, I'm Brad. We'll see you next week.